Do you feel that the library is a valuable addition to the communities of Norwich and Harwood Heights? And if so, why and how?
I think that it's a mark of civilization for a community to have a library. Libraries go back thousands of years. The ancient city of Alexandria in Egypt, which is one of the most famous cities of ancient times, was noted for its enormous library. It was a mark of civilization. And I think that a library is essential to any community, as I say, and certainly this library, in my opinion, is essential to Norwich and Harwood Heights.
What do you use the library for?
Well, I use the library very heavily for my work, of course. I do a great portion of my research here. But on the other hand, I also use it for reading pleasure, as do other members of my family. I have three grandchildren living with us at the moment, and I bring them in here to take out books to read to themselves and for me to read to them at bedtime. That's a big major portion of our lives. So my entire family uses the library very heavily and always has.
How often do you use the library?
Oh, we're in here. I'm in here several times a week as a rule, and members of my family are often in here just as much. During the summertime, when there was no school, I suspect my grandchildren were in here close to every day.
How do you feel about a tax increase to support the library?
Well, I feel that a tax increase to support the library is essential. And it certainly does not seem to be a great deal of money. I believe it comes to something like $6.60 a month, which is the price of a couple of six-packs of beer, perhaps. It doesn't seem like a great deal of money, and for this purpose, I think it's essential.
How would you benefit from a library personally?
Well, I benefit personally from the library enormously because I am a writer, and a bulk of my work is nonfiction, so I rely on materials supplied by the library for a great deal of research. So a library is essential to me. It's part of the way I make my living, actually.
And do you think this library is sufficient for the needs of the community?
Well, I think it is sufficient for the needs of the community with the reservation that it can always have more material. Any library can, and that's really one of the purposes of a library, is to make sure that there's a plenitude of books and other materials available for the community to make use of.
Very good. Now I'd like you to pause for a moment and state your name and your occupation on the camera.
My name is Tom McGowen. I'm a writer of books for children.
Okay, we're going to do that one more time. Ready?
My name is Tom McGowen. I'm an author of books for children. Do you feel that the library, oh wait, we asked that one already. Do you think the people of this community need more books, films, and reference materials, as well as more space to work in and more parking spaces here? Well, I certainly feel that the people of the community will benefit from having more of everything that the library can and should supply available. Obviously, the more books there are, the more reading pleasure they can have. The more reference materials available, the more useful it becomes for children doing their homework. I think there's no doubt that the library needs to expand. It's good now, in my opinion, but I think it needs to expand.
What are some of the problems that you see now as a patron here at Eisenhower?
I really see very few problems other than the fact they're having to remove books from the shelves. That, in my opinion, that's regrettable. For example, there's a very good history of a series of World War I written and published close after that period that had to be removed from the shelves simply because there was no longer room for it. And the thing that bothers me is that some future member of the community just may want to research that period of time and research some of those events, and that very, very excellent source is gone. And that's regrettable.
And have you noticed personally that materials that are still in good shape and that are not obsolete are pruned from the shelves to make room for new books and materials?
That's exactly the problem, is that many books that are still useful, still in good condition, are having to be removed from the shelves simply to make room for new materials. Yes, there are books that are old and out of date, and they should be pulled. But some things, such as historical works, written closer to the time when they happened, are highly useful and should be retained as long as possible.
That's excellent. This other one, quick.
No, actually, about all I might do would be to praise the library, and I'm not sure I should do that.
Okay, that's all right. Well, thank you. Okay, tell me about what you were mentioning before. You gotta be a little bit louder. I know it's a library.
Should I stand up or should I be
If you want to stand up, whatever you
If
more
I
comfortable.
stand up, will that look really stupid?
No, it does not look stupid.
Okay. How am I supposed to approach this?
When I ask,
Okay, well, yeah, this is going to sound terrible. We had a patron, Mr. McGowen, come in the other day asking for a book on World War I that he'd used at the library previously for research for some of the things he was working on, and we couldn't find the book anywhere, and we weren't even listed as an owning library. When I told him that it was probable that we had gotten rid of the book because we simply didn't have enough shelf space, he was very distressed about it. We were still able to get the book for him. We were able to direct loan it from another library, but the shelf space problem has been very ongoing, and we have gotten rid of a lot of sources, generally older sources, that people would probably be able to use and would want to use at some point in time.
Tell me about the noise problem here.
Oh, well, the building is, okay, we're talking about the noise problem in the library. The building was initially a sheet metal factory, and if you ever come into the building and look over your head, you're going to notice that there's really no soundproofing or anything on any of the ceilings. And if you look at the walls, you're going to notice there's cinder block and there's no soundproofing on any of the walls. When we get a whole lot of people in here, especially after school and in the evenings, the noise level is just incredible because there's nothing to block it. It escalates because it just climbs up to those open spaces and goes all over the place. And since it's a very open design, too, with all the tables and everything just set up in the middle of the building, it's very, very bad.
Very good. I gotta get my...
Some of the problems that we've noticed, and one of the reasons that we're asking for a new library, are that the library is very congested, especially in the evening hours and after school. We are running out of space to put books on. The story with Mr. McGowen points that out. We're throwing a lot of books away. We're almost throwing out one book for every new book that we purchase. And people are continually asking us to purchase new books for the information that they need to have, which makes perfect sense. That's what we're here for. We don't have anywhere near as much parking as we should. We only have approximately 50 spaces. So a lot of times you'll come and the entire parking lot is full, and there's really no street parking, which, kind of cuts down on the number of people who can actually use the building. We do need to have more space to be able to comply with the American with Disabilities Act. We need to have shorter stacks. We need to have a certain number of spaces, a distance between the stacks, between the tables, between the chairs, so that people who are in wheelchairs can get around the building effectively. We don't have, and we get asked this all the time, we really don't have personal computers for people to use. We don't have any space to put them in, and we don't have any, we don't have any room. We also don't have, at this point, internet access. Again, we don't have room to put an internet terminal in. And even if we did, we would probably only be able to put in one, and that's probably not going to suit the standards of the people that are coming to the library. We also don't have very many CD-ROM stations. We have the encyclopedia, we have some maps, we have telephone disc that shows you different phone numbers throughout the country, but that's about it. Oh, and InfoTrack and the Chicago Trib. But people are always asking us for new CD-ROM products, too, that they would like to see, and that everybody could be using. So those are some of the problems that we're facing, and that we just simply can't solve in a building of this size. Now, solution-wise, if we did...
All right, let's do solution. Ready?
Okay. As a solution to some of the problems, if we were getting a new building, we would be able to open on Sundays, which is something that we're not currently able to do. Again, it's not the space problem so much as a staffing problem, but if we did pass both issues of the referendum, we would be able to staff for Sunday hours. We would be able to continue to get more materials without having to throw away the stuff that we already have, which I would think would be very valuable. We would get a lot more seating and some quiet study areas, because our quiet study areas are very small now, and a lot of people can't work where there's a lot of activity and a lot of noise. We would be able to probably have personal computers for people. We would have internet access. We would have more CD-ROM stations and be able to supply a greater variety of CD-ROM products. We would be able to get approximately, looking at the different plans, 100 parking spaces, so we would be doubling our parking, which would make it much, much easier for people to come to the library. And I think that's it. Is that okay?
Very good.
One of the questions that a lot of people seem to have had, and possibly because some of the newspaper articles may not have explained this as clearly as possible, is how much this is actually going to cost them. A lot of people seem to believe that voting yes for the two issues on the referendum is going to double their entire tax bill. that they pay yearly, including their school taxes, their park taxes, etc. And that's not the case. It would double approximately on a $150,000 home, double the taxes that you are paying to the library. This would mean that within a 3-year period, your taxes would have increased approximately $60. So we would like people to know that we're not trying to take all your, you don't have to put this part in. Leave that part out. Does that work? Yeah.
In fact, which
So right now your taxes are approximately 0.1%, your library taxes of your entire tax bill. That would probably double, which would mean it would probably go up about $6 a month for a $150,000 home.
very every time I ask a question, try to rephrase it in your answer.
Okay. Should I introduce who I am?
Yes,
first,
that's what
or
I do first. Who you are and what you do.
Okay. Hi, my name is Barb, and I've been a page here for almost 5 years. And basically, my job is to shelve the books and to try and keep them in order on the shelves. In recent, probably the past year, year and a half, it's been really, really difficult to do that, because the shelves have been packed so tight that there's been no room for the new books that come in. So we are in desperate need of more space, and I look forward to the time where I will have room on every shelf to put every book in the proper spot.
Can we do?
Hi, my name is Barb, and I'm a page here. Basically, I've been working here for almost 5 years, and basically my job is to put the books on the shelves. And it's been very difficult to do in the past couple of years because the shelves have been stacked so tight with the books, and we keep getting new ones in and there's no room to put them.
What are some of the problems right now of the current library building?
For me, since we got the new shelving space in, we do have a little more extra room on the shelves now, but it's so tight. We had to get the shelves so close together that you can't even get 2 people in the same row now, so a little more elbow room would be appreciated.
How do you use the library?
As a patron, or as a
Yes,
person
as
who
a
works
patron.
here? As a patron?
Yes.
I use it mainly for my kids. They're still in school, and it's nice to be able to go and find a book and find it on the shelf where it belongs, and it's hard to do when there's no room to maneuver things.
Tell me about how the collection is weeded.
I really don't have too much to do with that. The other people who work here, like I think in the reference section, they're the ones who take the time out of their busy schedules to come and pull the older books out to make room for the new ones.
How do you feel about the tax increase for the new library?
You might want to stop it here.
Okay.
I understand that closing the Eisenhower Library and increasing the school libraries, or closing the school libraries and increasing the Eisenhower Library. I don't think that that would be beneficial to either the students or the community, because a community needs a good, solid, modern library for the people, not just for students. There's middle-aged people who use the libraries, there's senior citizens who come and use the libraries. There's so much that the library offers that people just don't even understand. We have issues of Consumer Reports and the New York Times and Time Magazine that go back 20 and 25 years. You can't go to the corner newsstand and get those articles if you need them. And for closing school libraries, that doesn't make sense, because the children need a library in their school too, so that they can go to those libraries during school hours if they have to work and they're not able to come to the community library. So we do need both the community and the school libraries.
Do you feel the library is valuable to the communities in Harwood Heights and Norwich?
Oh.
If so, how and why?
Oh, definitely. If you go to any other suburban library system, Park Ridge is just as an example. They have a huge building, and they're very proud of their library. And we want to be proud of our library too, and the fact that we have 2 communities that could support it just is all the more beneficial, that we should have a library that the community should be proud of.
Oh, that was very good. I liked
I have visited other suburban libraries, and they have had more land to build in. In fact, just last week I was out at Bolingbrook, and their library is 20 years old, but it looks brand new. And it's just because they had so much space to build on and expand and keep up to date. And they don't have as many people that frequent the library, that live in the community, as we have here in Norridge and Harwood Heights. So we really need more space for the amount of people that do use the library. Plus, the bigger the library, the more people would use it. It just goes hand in hand. With more parking spaces and more seating availability, more people would come.
Very good. Is there anything else you'd like to add that I didn't mention?
I can't think of anything. Did I say enough about the shelf room? And I know we were in a...
Boys level at Eisenhower.
Okay. I think that because of the way the building is laid out, that it was just kind of makeshift with a previous building. It wasn't built as a library. We don't have really quiet areas. We have the circ desk almost right in the middle of the library. We have the children's area right in the library, so people who do want to come and read for peace and quiet, they have to be shut up in a tiny little claustrophobic quiet room if they even know about it. And there should be more open space that is also quiet, and this is something that we look forward to in the new library also.
What about the staff work areas? How sufficient are they?
They are also very small and crowded. Another part of my job is to tape and cover new books that come in, and I have to share my spot with 6 other pages, and only one of us can work back there at a time because it is so tiny. And we need an area also for book repair, which we don't have. That's also included in our present area, so we have piles and piles of broken books that need to be repaired, mixed up with the new books that need to be taped to be put out on the shelves. So if we had a larger area in the back, we could maybe have 2 pages working back there at a time to get the new books out for the public instead of them having to wait for us to get to it because of lack of space. We're in the back of the page area now, and this is just an example of the conditions that we work under. Over here are all the books that need to be repaired at the present time. They're just piled on top of each other. We try and get to them as soon as we can, but we have all these new books that also need to be taped and covered that the public also wants out to be able to be checked out. So sometimes we have to not do the repairs in order to do the new books. Sometimes we can't do the new books in order to do the repairs. If we had more space back here, we could have 2 pages working at the same time to get this work done. Oh, you want me to do it again?
Oh, yes, you can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. We're in the back in the page area now. This is where we cover the new books and we repair the broken books. And as an example, here are the new books now that are waiting to be covered and protected so that they can last as long as possible. There's probably about 100 books here right now, and we have this amount coming through every week. Over here are the books that need to be repaired. We have to kind of balance our time between repairing the broken books and covering the new books. So one or the other has to always wait. If we had more room back here, we could have 2 pages working at the same time and getting more of the current books out for the patrons, for the public.
Okay. Tell me, what are you doing here now?
Labeling, putting Braille labels on cassette books. The titles.
Books on cassettes.
Huh?
Books on cassettes.
Yeah, cassette books. And putting the title and the number of each side, you know, cassette number. Side 1, side 2. So it's labeling cassette books.
Have you noticed that there's lack of space for Braille and blind books in our current library?
Definitely. We don't have anywhere to go, and the space is very small. And these are in demand, not only by the blind and the handicapped. There are people who are taking them out and using them as they go back and forth to work. we
Yeah,
listen to
they're on the market. They're regular.
bestsellers and
Commercial.
mysteries. We have children's books on cassettes. We have classics that they enjoy. We have a very good selection on that, on health, just about anything you could ask for. Yes.
Have you noticed any problems in our current library for like the disabled, the way the shelves are set up and things such as that?
No, I haven't had any complaints so far.
Oh, okay.
No. In fact, so much better than what we had before. They're slanted, where the titles are. They're able to read them much clearer, so people don't have to bend down to the bottom shelves, become handicapped with that.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I have people right here from Harwood Heights and Norwich that are using these.
How many people use the
About
handicap section?
45 people that are handicapped that are using these books. We have, I think, about 1,000 of them. Yeah.